We have one of my best friends in Los Angeles. We have the talented artist, horror connoisseur, friend, world traveler, gatherer of people, kind human being, and also one of the most eternally optimistic people I know. We have Miss Candy Valentine.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my God, thanks for doing. First of all, let's get a little like drink going, right? I feel like just to get us started. Hi guys, thanks for joining. I can't really see how many people are on here right now because
it's better that way.
My light is
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so these glasses do work because it is a little effervescent. So these little coupes are perfect. All right. Cheers. To just two ladies chatting away in cream dresses, right? I see someone gave us a little heart. Guys, comment down below. Let us know who's out there on this live, and we can all chit chat during the live. So I'm going to just take a sip. Oh my God, that's delicious. Okay, I needed that. Maybe I have a little bit more. Okay, putting that down. So, guys, I wanted to bring Candy on because, like I was saying, one of the most eternally optimistic people I know. So, Candy Valentine. I feel like I need to hold a glass for this. Candy Valentine, are you a good girl?
Well, as your book defines it, I think reading your words was such a revelation for me because it was so relatable. And I think so many people have gone through this journey, and I hope find them a way out of it in an authentic way. You know, one of the things that really struck me about your book was it was written with such vulnerability. And okay, I guess we should rewind a little bit. We first met a little over 2 years ago, I think, at a friend's Christmas party. And you walked into the room, and I was immediately so taken by the vision of you in this incredible red outfit. And you had such a rare aura about you.
Aww.
And you were dancing when no one else was. And it was just so incredible. Like, I very, very, very rarely meet people that embrace life the way that you do.
Aww.
And I guess we kind of reconnected a little bit down the line, like 8 months or so later. Is that the timeline when we kind of started hanging out a little bit more and then went on this trip to Italy together without really knowing each other too much at that time?
Candy and I went on a trip of a lifetime together. We went to Italy, and I think we really bonded on that trip to Italy. I don't know if you guys have ever been with someone where you are like wheezing, laughing, where you cannot catch a breath and you have a pain in your side.
We were like keeled over.
Yeah, you can't stand straight. That's how much you're laughing. So that is what I had with Candy. And you know what? I would pay anything to have that because you can't fake that. Like, you know, when it's real, when it's like a guttural laugh that honestly, that trip brought me so much joy. I came back a changed woman when I came back from that trip because I just felt so much joy, like pure joy. And like, my soul needed that trip. Yeah.
It was like an amazing combination of girls. We had 2 other girls who joined us like down the line, but it really reminded me how much I love female friendships and how special it is to meet someone that you can really be completely nuts with.
Yeah. Like, I feel like, so Candy comes off as like really like obviously like put together, you know, but Candy, she's a little silly goose, you know? And like, I love that about you, how Candy also just lets loose and laughs and has fun and dances and enjoys the moment. And I think that's where we connect. I think we have our, like, you know, you're very different in some ways than I am, but we connect in the sense that we love just to have fun and live the life. But I want to talk about one thing that, so I was actually over here a few days ago to tape an audition, and Candy was helping me tape it. And I don't know if you guys know, but taping auditions is a nightmare for an actor. If it doesn't go well, you're just thinking about all the things you could have done differently, or where you're at, or you know, you could just get so down and spiral down on yourself. So I was starting to do that, and I had a really good talk with you because I realized that you are so optimistic. You are one of the most optimistic people I know. You're like a ray of light, like honestly. And I just want to know, like, where does that come from? Like, is that something you were born with, or is that something that you've had to work on, being so optimistic?
I mean, maybe a little delusion, but I think
Delulu.
yes.
Okay.
But I mean, I'll admit it openly, but I really think mostly it comes, and this might sound really corny, but we're so lucky to be able to enjoy this experience of life.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I just see so much magic and so much romance in every moment. I mean, you coming over to do a self-tape, how hilarious is that? I think it's so funny that this is what we do.
Yeah.
You know, as adults, we get to play so much, and I just think that's so remarkable.
That's true. And the role was special. It was a special role. We had a fun time. So, have you ever read the book The Artist's Way? I'm just curious.
You know what? I haven't read it, but I did last year try to do, what's it called? The Morning Pages.
Okay.
Which I believe is the accompanying journal to The Artist Way.
So I was thinking of Candy, and I was like, she is the artist's way. Like, you don't need to read that book. You live that life. You live the life of the artist's way, like a true artist. Like, you wake up and you, like, you know, you focus your art, and it's like your life. You're like a living, breathing artist. And it's like, I think so many people have to read that book and really try and work on that. They have to try and hone that in, where that's something that you just live and breathe, like this artist way.
That's
like
so nice.
In my opinion.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah. So, because I know, like, what kind of advice could you give to people who are trying to live the artist way, like trying to tap into that artist life?
I think what advice? I mean, there's just so much magic in the mundane, and there's so much to tap into as far as, you know, inspiration or things that you're interested in. And everyone's creative. I think there's a misconception amongst so many that they're not, but it's really something that can be trained if you choose to live that way. I just think it's like living with ease is so much easier than many people imagine it is. And living from a creative place, I think, is so much easier if you allow yourself that luxury. And I think a lot of people feel as if living creatively or being an artist and choosing to pursue like a life filled with art, or being, you know, or being an artist, is something that you can only really attain from a place of privilege. But I'm here to tell you that is not true. I grew up poor, and I think that really allowed me to tap into my creativity. I didn't really have things as a child that like occupied me the way that many other people do. I had to be out in nature climbing trees and living that way. And I guess that's something that gave me a deep, deep appreciation for life and human connection and just simply being here. I feel like I'm rambling a little bit.
No.
But I guess like, yeah, advice is to just go out and try to be creative, and don't allow anything to limit you, because you don't need anything to live creatively. You don't need anything to create art, even if it's art for yourself or if it's something that you want to do professionally. Yeah.
And this sort of leads me into my next question. So, what is your relationship in this point in your life to art? Like, I know that's a weird question, but like, how do you see it? How do you find it? How do you make it? Like, what is your, because do you feel like you have this relationship to art? Like it's like a lover or like a person, like your art? I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah.
Not really.
Okay.
To me anyway, it probably makes sense to everyone else.
Like for example, like I could say, like what's my relationship to being an actor? You know, like what's that relationship like? What's your relationship like to art? Like being an artist? Like is it tough? Do you guys fight? Do you know, are you doing well right now? Like you and art? Like, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, yeah, I think I understand what you're saying a little more. I mean, it's something that is my day-to-day and also provides me, like, you know, with my lifestyle as well.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a love-hate relationship. Absolutely. I think once you're depending on it to get you through life, you do add a certain amount of anxiety to creating art and feeling as if, you know, your creative desires are compromised because you have a commission that you need to finish, or you need to take a job that maybe doesn't feel entirely aligned with you because you need to pay your rent or whatever. So, I mean, I would say my relationship with art is fairly balanced because it's continually giving me energy to keep going. It's continually providing me ideas for places that I want to travel to or see or experience. And I've met so many friends through the amazing art community here in LA. So I'd say my relationship is pretty good.
I feel doing well.
I feel so lucky.
Are you guys gonna get married?
I mean, yeah, I think it goes deeper than that. But
oh wow,
yeah.
Are you guys like soulmates? You and art?
I mean, definitely since I was a kid, all I really wanted to do is be an artist in some capacity.
Yeah. So, what is your relationship to money as an artist? Like, how is that?
Well, this is something I'm still working on, definitely. But like I said earlier, I grew up with so little, and my parents provided me with so much of what was really essential. And, you know, like I remember the greatest joy in my household was when mom would make a cake, and it would be like the craziest, most amazing thing. And so I think from a young age, I was able to learn, like I learned how to celebrate small things. And I learned that you can have a really full life without having a ton of money. And I also don't have a real attachment to material things, so I think that helps a lot too.
Is that like a spiritual aspect, or?
I mean, I suppose so. I mean, I prefer not to be surrounded by too many things. And I think in my art, you'll also see that I really essentialize forms. I love to get to the essence of a form without having anything superfluous. And it's just something that has always felt true to me. So my relationship with money, I mean, you can always have more of it. I'm like always looking for an investor.
Yes. But, so, you know, Candy, don't get it twisted. You're a bougie ass bitch. Like, let's be honest, right? But I do love that about you, that you are a minimalist in a lot of ways. You're a are you a maximalist? No. You're a minimalist.
Oh my
You're a minimalist. Yeah. But you like to get dressed up and like go out and have fun, like in that way. You're a maximalist in some ways, but then a minimalist in other ways, which I can see that balance there between the two. So
I feel like we dived straight into this and just started asking me questions. I want to talk about the book.
We'll get to me.
This is my first podcast, so I don't really know what I'm doing. Yeah. I'm just happy to be here.
I mean, you can also ask me things that you're thinking. If I ask a question, it inspires you. You can ask me, like if something comes to mind. But so what is the easiest and hardest part of owning and operating your own small business? Because Candy has a small business where she's a ceramicist. So she sells vases, plates, lamps. I mean, you had, you know, a storefront. Like what is the hardest part about being a small business owner? And as a woman too, like, yeah.
The hardest part, I mean, I guess finding ways that feel true to you to keep it open.
Yeah.
I knew that I didn't want to compromise my time by just doing tons of classes and lessons and things like that. Even though I love those things and I love to be able to share my knowledge with other people, I just knew that that would take up a giant amount of time away from what I ultimately wanted to do, which was just to make art.
Mm-hmm.
So, navigating that balance, I think, is the hardest thing. And I'm so fortunate that always something has come through that's allowed me to continue doing this.
Mm-hmm. I can relate to that in the sense that, I was working pretty much like full time for someone for the past 3 years, and then I got let go. And that's really when I started really focusing on publishing the book, and starting the podcast and making my content like on TikTok and Instagram. So once you really it's really hard, but once you filter out and take away these things that are taking up so much of your time, and I'm not going to lie, it's been really hard, like transitioning from a steady paycheck to being more entrepreneurial, but I can see the exponential growth in my art, like in my creativity and what I'm outputting as an artist, because I just have the mental capacity and time, and also the fight and the pressure to okay, I don't have that full-time job anymore, so this is it. What someone told me once, don't ever have a plan B, and I go back and forth if I agree with that or not. As an artist, if you should have a plan B. But I definitely can see how not having a plan B has really opened me up to the life I've always wanted to live, I feel like.
Yeah, no, I can definitely relate to that too. I think we're lucky in that we have other revenue streams as well.
Mm-hmm.
Primarily, I'm making it from ceramics, but I'm so lucky that every now and again I book an acting role or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. So I have other things, but really that's other interests that I want to pursue.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, I think there's this very romantic idea of taking the leap and just making art, and quitting your life as you know it,
quitting your life.
Yeah, and praying that the net will appear. More often than not, a net does appear if your motivations are pure, the net will appear. But it's kind of nice to have a little cushion of your own just in case.
For sure. I will say every time I've sort of hit a low financially, maybe I was in between jobs, maybe I was getting out of a big relationship and I was having to deal with all of the financial stress of being single, because that's a thing. And a net appeared. I've never been busted out with nothing, out on the street, and I've never asked for help. A net, an opportunity always appeared.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to remember that. When things get tough, I think Demi Moore said it the other day at the SAG Awards. She was like, it's when you believe it, you will see it. Not when you see it, you'll believe it. And today I woke up and I was like, you know what? I just have to change my attitude. I need to wake up, and I thought of you, and just be optimistic, a go-getter, put myself out there, and that net will appear,
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think it also really helps to surround yourself with people who inspire you as well. I think here in LA, we're so lucky to have an infinite well of incredible creatives, and
Mm-hmm.
you don't even have to know these people personally, but it really allows you to imagine a life for yourself that maybe is slightly bigger than your current life, or it's where you want to go.
Yeah.
See it to believe it.
Yeah. So just a few more questions here.
Mm-hmm.
As a full-time artist, someone who supports themselves through art, what do you recommend for someone striving for that lifestyle?
I mean, I think it's to just keep going, honestly. I haven't always been I haven't always been a full-time artist. I feel like I have in a way because it's been such a long time that I've been making money from art. But I've always been pursuing
recently,
creativity. Yeah. I mean, in my previous life, I was an interior designer. I've only been making ceramics full time for the last 2-3 years, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And I started making ceramics only 5 years ago. So it was kind of, it was fast. And I feel so lucky for that. But it was fast because I was so focused.
Mm-hmm.
I really fell in love with making pottery, and I knew very quickly after taking my first couple of lessons, like there was something in this that I really wanted to pursue, and I really wanted to give myself more time to pursue it. So I just did that, focus, prioritize, and surround yourself with people that are supportive.
Yes, I do think who you surround yourself with. So having met Candy, I have met so many other women who are pursuing their creative dreams, like really going for it. Like Allie being a filmmaker, Sam and Medallion, actresses, other people who are artists, like, there's all Eve with, I don't know if I just said Eve or not, with the ceramic studio, but like all these incredible women that I've met through you are women like on a mission. And that energy constantly reminds me, like when I see Allie's stories on Instagram or your stories or Medallions or anyone, that inspires me. It's like, keep going. Like yes, you, and yes, me. And it really does remind me, if she can wake up every morning and do it, like I'm going to do it too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, totally. And there's space for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Like not in a competitive way, but like in a, I know like our day jobs are hard for those of us who have day jobs. And, but like when Allie wakes up super early in the morning to like go to, like and do her thing, I'm like, wow, like she's doing it. Like she could be in bed, she could be asleep right now. And like with you going to the ceramic studio and like working, like you don't, we all have options. We don't have to be doing those things. But I see you guys out there every day doing it. And it's like, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's all about prioritizing the vision that you have for your life.
Mm-hmm. No, that's true. Okay, we're gonna get into a little bit of like a good girl topic.
Thank God.
Should we get some more alcohol? Well, no, it's still gonna be intense.
Thank you.
So, do you ever? We're gonna wait for the bus to pass. We're in Hollywood.
Oh, I should have closed these windows.
Yeah, but it's also really hot, so I feel like the windows are good. If we have the mics, it'll be fine. Okay. Do you ever feel ashamed?
I am living proof that humiliation will not kill you. I have had so many embarrassing moments throughout my life that luckily I can look back on and laugh about now. But I think everyone carries a certain amount of shame with them, and it's definitely something over the last few years specifically I've really reconciled with and worked hard to release. I mean, so yeah, absolutely. But I don't really allow it to dictate my trajectory.
But was there a point in your life where you were noticing that it was?
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've definitely made decisions rooted in fear and shame.
And how did you make that leap?
I mean, a lot of really meditating on it. I mean, I had a great therapist for a while as well. She was amazing. We did a lot of EMDR exercises, which completely, turned my world upside down, and really helped me become a more vulnerable person as well. And yeah, I think just with age as well, I now look back on my path and realize that I was just doing my best with the information that I had at the time, and I had deep-rooted insecurities that I maybe wasn't aware of in the moment, but definitely like played out in my decision making or my partner choosing, or things like that.
And how do you feel now, like not being so tied to shame about something? Like what is that feeling?
I mean, it's so liberating. I actually just recently listened to an audiobook by this wonderful woman named Martha Beck, and I can't remember what it's called. It's something like The Path to Integrity. And the book is so great for anyone that's interested in living with more integrity and intention and just authenticity and honesty with yourself and the people around you. I highly recommend this book. There's an audiobook, I listened to that. But there's so many exercises in it that really like shifted my perspective. So, you know, it's something I'm still working on, but maybe more now from the perspective of curiosity and interest than something that I really carry around with me on a regular basis. I mean, I think more than ever, I just love transparency. And I think it's the greatest gift that anyone can give you. And that's what I want to give to other people too.
Do you find it easy to be transparent with people?
It depends. It depends. I always ask myself if it's helpful, you know, like first.
Oh, okay. So you're saying,
yeah, like who does this really benefit? Like if I'm to pick this battle, is it really going to be helpful to either of us? But I feel like I'm better at detecting transparency now, and I have less time for people who can't give that.
Yeah, no, I get that. Are you single?
I didn't want to go down that road.
Okay, so we're not going to be going down that road. But moving on, what is something you look for in a person, a friend, a business associate, an artist, a romantic partner? Like, what is something you look for in a person that that you want to have a relationship with, some sort of relationship with?
I think the most attractive thing to me about any person is their general aura, their essence, who they are at the core of their being. Like it always comes out and pretty quickly. I think the next thing that I find really attractive is people who are down to just experience this like abundantly romantic fantasy version of just being in love with life. And I saw that in you, actually. The moment I met you, I was like, this girl is down. And then when we went to Sardinia together, like it really cemented it in my mind. Like, you're the kind of friend I can call up, you know, we'll get a bottle of wine in the afternoon and like drive to Mulholland and like, you know what I mean? Talk all night while we're watching the city. Like, and I love people like this. And it doesn't have to be romantic. It can be like platonic relationships, even professional relationships. I want to know that these people are willing to like, you know, just experience being here.
I agree. I think that is a hard quality to find, like someone who can just tap into like enjoying an aspect of life. Like, let's just go and like, that we'll go and we'll have a good conversation and we'll have a good time. And, like it's hard because I feel like that was a battle, I think, earlier on where I wasn't really connecting to a lot of my friends in that sort of profound, easygoing way, like where you go and you feel like you can really talk about things with someone, like genuine, deep connection, or just go laugh and
like, who has time for anything else? We have so many mundane interactions every day. Like, why would you want to continue that in the people who are close to you?
Yeah.
I
think that's something that if I'm going to go out, like just the other day, like when we were out at the art gallery and we were just making conversation with people, and for some reason I was just curious, like which people were formula babies, like Infamil, or which were breastfed. And I like things like that. It's just like weird topics of conversation. But I would rather like get into this stuff than just talk about, oh, the cheese is good, or have you seen this movie? Like, I don't know, because I feel like that's how you really get to know someone, like really break the ice with someone. And that's why
Bianca was a formula baby.
I was a formula baby.
I was breastfed for the first 6 months before going onto formula. I confirmed it with my mom via text that night. We met the coolest guy, Jackson.
Yeah.
I hope you're out there, Jackson.
Jackson was great. He was just
walked into the conversation and like just picked it up and ran. It was so cool.
He walked in and he got it because he was like, are you guys talking about who was fed formula and who was breastfed? And he was like, I'm here for this conversation. And I was like, yeah, you are, Jackson. After talking to him a little bit more, made perfect sense of why he picked up on that, because he too was looking to have real like connection and not just like, oh, are you in town for freeze this weekend? You know, like genuine, just being down.
And the next night I was at a party in Silver Lake.
Oh God.
And Jackson, it was a house party. Jackson was on the dance floor dancing with himself, not caring about the fact that no one else was there with him.
Jackson's one of us.
He's one of us. He's one of us.
Yeah.
We should hang out with Jackson more.
One time I went to a party and nobody was dancing except for these two people. And they had gone all out. They had bought like a light up disco dance floor, everything. It was this huge party. And I was like, I'm going to dance with these people. So I danced with those two people. And then I went back to like the guy I was dating at the time who wasn't dancing. And I was like, oh, I just had so much fun with those two people. Like they really know how to dance. And he was like, those are hired atmospheric dancers.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, how do I get that job?
Yeah.
Like, because that's me. Like I go to the party, I go to the wedding, I'm on the dance floor, I'm getting the crowd going. But I just thought it was interesting that I was like, wow, I connected more to the hired atmospheric dancers than I did to any of the people at the party. So.
I mean, it's so fascinating that that's a job. And something similar happened to me the last time I was at Universal Studios. I saw this dancer who worked there doing this performance that seemed like kind of out of sync with the rest of the theme park. She was dancing with a broom and she was like jumping over a trash can and doing this whole like interpretive thing. And I just thought it was so cool that that was her job and that she'd actually trained to dance like that. And it just reminded me that there are so many ways you can live.
Yeah, it's true. That's so true.
Yeah.
I actually want to enter a phase of my life where I'm just exploring the different ways I could live.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't that be nice if you just
cool.
took a sabbatical? I've also always wanted to take a sabbatical. I don't know why. I mean, I feel like that sounds so cool. I've thought about like going down to Hollywood Boulevard and like even with my book, just going with my book and like a sign and a QR code and just talking to people, like just interviewing people.
You could do that though.
I know I can do that, but
take
like
a sabbatical. You do that tonight.
Like, I don't know, like if you allow yourself that time to go do those things, I just think it would be so exciting just to go and talk to people.
Well, you should do it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it with you.
No, yeah, I do want to do it. I totally want to do it. Or just like pack up my car and like drive across country and just go to coffee shops and like promote my book and interview people. Like stuff like that excites me. You know, I'm from Texas and I feel like I've been missing in a weird way, like the South. Like I want to go back to New Orleans and I want to go to Alabama and I want to just see America and interview people and just like, I want to do that. Like that's something I want to do.
You could do that.
I know. Just pack up my little car and Yoda and my wardrobe and go.
For a couple of months, you could do it.
For a couple of months. Maybe I will do it. What's a red flag for you?
Like just generally, or with a romantic romantic situation.
Romantic.
I would say a red flag for me. Well, I mean, what we were saying just earlier about people who aren't down for like this romantic fantasy, like obviously there's a way you can do it that's charming and healthy. That's what I'm talking about. And I think people who are like, you know, very non-committal, ambiguous, potentially have some kind of situation in the background that they're not being totally transparent about, but your intuition detects it. I mean, I would say that.
Yeah. Nobody needs to be ambiguous. Like
ambiguity is out.
Unless you're on an FBI most wanted list, like you need to be telling people the truth about your identity. Like,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, but like nobody has time to guess your status, like your relationship status, or your, if you, I don't know, like if you're lying about anything, like,
Yeah, don't lie.
like unless you're really working through something and you're trying to do it privately, just take a step back, you know? But yeah, just being totally transparent, because women and men, like we can pick up on it, we can smell it, and something's off, and it's not fair. That's all I'll say about that.
That really came from
yeah.
a deep place in your heart.
Yeah. So, when did your love and fascination for horror begin?
Oh, I was really young. I remember being about 6 years old, and my parents, I was in the Philippines at this time, my parents put on the 80s remake of The Blob.
Oh my God.
And for my whole life, up until last year, when I finally had the courage to rewatch it, that stuck with me as the most viscerally terrifying feeling. But it was also a feeling that was like simultaneously exciting. So it kind of started really young. In my childhood home, we had like a TV room. And when my parents were asleep after 10 p.m. or midnight or whenever, I would sneak into the TV room and I would just watch late night TV. And it was always scary movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just completely enamored by it. I thought it was so cool. And I just couldn't believe that this is what movies could be. And, you know, for me, movies are so magical because they can take you to places that are so vastly removed from your everyday experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought they were so creative and so fascinating. And I've loved horror for a long time.
And okay, so when we were in Italy, you were leaving. We were in Rome. You woke up to go to a cemetery and a comic, or what was the shop you went to?
So, like the legendary Italian giallo director Dario Argento has a museum and a shop in Rome, and I knew no one else was interested in going to this, so I took a day away from you all so I could visit it.
So it sounds like your love for it like really deepens, like especially after being a child. Like, what is that relationship like, that where are you just like a super big fan, or are you like, I don't know, like what is that you're still like going out of your way to pursue it and find it? Yeah.
I mean, it's directly related to play. I mean, I think these kinds of movies tap into something so playful, even if it feels dark.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I love special effects. I love animatronics. And I love that there are teams of people out there that really want to make these genre movies and create these worlds. For, you know, a community of people that just love them.
Yeah. I guess I've always been so interested in horror fans because, you know, I watched horror movies growing up, but I look at my other friends who are definitely fans of horror, and I know that I am not that. Mm-hmm. But it's like sports. Like horror movie like fans are like sports fans. Like they're diehard. Mm-hmm. They're a diehard group of fans, especially in the film industry. So I've always found it so interesting. Like, because I don't relate to it in that way. So I'm always interested when people are, like, what that, like, pull is.
I mean, I think it's just a specific kind of creativity, and I think you can explore so much with horror, more so than, you know, any other genre that I'm interested in. And like it's just endlessly fascinating. I mean, you can go anywhere and make a horror movie about it, really. And it's just endlessly entertaining. And because I love special effects, I love to like geek out on how they did that. I remember being a kid and like watching The Exorcist, and like there's this scene where this guy is like decapitated with like a glass thing, like panel that flies off a car. And I remember like rewinding it so many times just so I could like try and figure out how they did that. And it's just so freaking cool to me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like it is art, like, you know, doing
Yeah.
those
Oh my God,
special effects.
absolutely.
It is a high skill level of art to do that.
Yeah.
Um,
And I love that there's, you know, people connect over these movies as well.
yeah.
I mean, and I do wonder if it exists in other genres. Like, are there people that love romantic comedies that can't wait for the new one? And
we're not doing the same
like,
things as horror
you know,
movie fans are doing, as romantic comedy fans.
but I'm just curious. It's a world that I don't know anything about, and I wonder if it's out there.
Yeah.
I mean, and in the horror world, you know, there are legends that we all want to work with, or we all like can't wait for the next film, or you know, and it's not just directors, it's like writers, it's the special effects people, it's the cinematographers, it's like these people that bring so much to these films. We just can't wait to see what else they've done.
That's amazing to be in a genre that the fan base is so supportive, is such a community. Yeah, it's an amazing thing to be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I envy that. What are your goals in life?
Well, I really want to be able to look back and feel like I gave myself a very varied, fun existence where I pursued my curiosity, and I connected with a lot of very different people along the way. And, you know, I just want to continue making art. And I don't really think about legacy so much, but I do think about maximizing my time here on earth while I have it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it always comes down to the relationships that I build and the experiences that I have.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like you are really good about going out, you're going to events, you're meeting people, you talk really, you know, you get in conversation with people really easily. And it's not like this fake like networking. Like you want to connect with people. And that is something that I think is genuine, and people pick up on that and they feel safe, and you make genuine connections with people, which I think is really hard in Los Angeles, or can be in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think it can be hard. I think it can be hard anywhere if you allow it to be hard. I mean, Los Angeles, there's so many opportunities to meet people. And there's basically anything that you're interested in. There's a community here in LA for it. You just have to find it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you want more of in your life? Like, what do you want to call in? Or what are you consciously trying to remind yourself? Okay, I want to do more of this, or I want more of this.
Just like living with ease, and it's not entirely like a financial thing. It's also just like an acceptance of life thing. And you know, just to not be fighting so much.
Fighting with who?
Well, I mean, like feeling like anything doesn't have to be like easy, you know, just continue to pursue things that you enjoy.
Wouldn't it be nice to get to that point in life where you're like, oh yeah, it's hard right now, but I'm gonna go through that with ease. Like,
Yeah,
now is
totally.
really hard and things are really shitty, but that's okay. I think that's like mastering that ebb and flow of life. You know, like, and you know, they always say like enjoy the highs, and then there's going to be lows, but it's like experiencing the highs and the lows in that way that you kind of know everything's going to come and go, and it's cyclical, and like um just like you're going to enjoy the highs, you're also going to enjoy the lows if possible.
Yeah, well, yeah, because life continues. You know, whatever that thing is that you're anxious about and fixating on, you know, you just have to remind yourself that there is life beyond it.
Mm-hmm.
And more often than not, it's temporary. And more often than not, you're hyping it up in your head in a way, making it bigger than it really is.
I think that's one of the hardest things. Like when you're really in something, like when you're in the thick of something, maybe it's a relationship that's on the rocks, or a career that is draining you. when you're in the thick of it, it is so hard to see the other side of something, you know? And that's another area where I want to get to, where maybe I got in a relationship and we're on the rocks, but I know that it's going to be okay. And if it, you know what I'm saying? Like that ease, and we talk about it, but when we're in it, emotions are high and another person's emotions are high and things are at stake. But I think if you can get to that point in life where, again, it's like, this is cyclical, like, you know, because I think something I've realized a lot in the past year, you know, being fired from my job so many times, and like also with the fires that happened, is that nothing is forever. You know, like you were saying earlier, enjoy life, because like nothing is promised, you know? And I think that it's, you know, we get busy and we sometimes forget that it is just what we have, like in this moment and who we're around, and you don't know how many more moments you're going to get with that person, and it's just so hard to remind yourself, like, to live in the moment, you know?
Yeah. But life gets much easier when you learn how to.
So how do you recommend that people like remind, like, do you feel like you have to remind yourself, or do you feel like you're in this place where you kind of just live in the moment?
I mean, I've worked on it for a while now, so I feel like the reminders aren't as constant, but I mean, every now and again I do find myself feeling, you know, like having to tell myself again, like this is going to be over eventually.
Yeah. I'm at that.
And also, you're never the first person to ever experience it. There's a whole lineage of people that have most likely had a similar experience or can relate to yours on some level.
That's true. I never think about that.
And they made it.
Yeah.
I assume.
Yeah. No, that's very true. What is something that you're really struggling with right now?
My gosh, it's a hard-hitting question. Am I really struggling with? I might have to get back to you on that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I don't want to seem like a unrelatable character.
Okay, I'll go first.
Okay, I would love to hear your answer.
So, what is something I'm really struggling with right now? I would have to say, like, you know, being in LA for 16 years, going on 17 years, and the hustle, like still doing it, still doing the hustle, you know, still living for a dream, and like how the sirens are going off, it's like end times, and just, you know, living the artist way, in the sense that, wow, a lot of sirens. Guys, this is an emergency.
Should I close this window?
I mean, if you want.
Okay.
You know. I mean, they'll pass, but if you want to close them.
This will pass too. But...
Okay. Everything will pass, guys. The sirens will pass. Like, life goes on. But yeah, I think something I really struggle with is, like, as I get older, you know, I think it was much easier when I was younger to be an artist and be free, and like, I'm 23, like I'm pursuing acting, like it's okay if I don't have a, you know, 401k or a Roth IRA, like, you know, I'll be fine. So I think that's something I struggle with as I get older is, you know, I'm getting older and more years have passed, and I'm still on the grind, and I'm still doing art, and I'm not like wildly financially successful. So I think that's something I really struggle with, is to wake up and give myself the grace to continue, and to continue down that path of being an artist and still being free and happy, and having that energy of a 23-year-old who's just so happy to be doing this every day. I think that's something that I struggle with.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I most admire about you is your determination and your ambition. And I think when you first told me that you wrote a book at the end of last year, it was just another thing. Like, added on to like your resume of accomplishments that seemed so mind-boggling to me. I mean, I love reading. I definitely don't make as much. That's something I struggle with. I wish I read more. I listen to a lot of audiobooks, but I really wish I gave myself the time to like sit down with a book and actually like absorb it. I read yours very quickly because I was so engrossed in the story, and it made me feel so much closer to you. But I think from your perspective, it's hard to see how many incredible accomplishments you've already like reached for yourself. So many things that like the majority of the world doesn't have the energy to even contemplate.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, when I hear you talking like this about your struggles, it sounds to me like you're a little tricked by the modern hustle. And I think it's so easy in Los Angeles because we're surrounded by all of these really high achievers, but none of it is is real. And I think none of it is really like worth valuing yourself up against.
Mm-hmm.
But I also know that you're on a path and people get to places at all different times, you know, and you'll get to where you want to go ultimately. You just have to keep going and have that kind of like confident knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you still have so much life ahead of you, hopefully.
Yeah. And it's something that like I look back and I think about like, oh God, what if I had booked that role on Days of Our Lives, like when I was 23? I don't think I would be here. I don't think like I would have, I mean, maybe I would have written a book, but like, or maybe I would have done stand-up comedy. But a part of me is like, I probably just would have bought a bunch of furniture and like decorated a house and like had a baby, which is like cool. But like, because I do love those things and want those things. But I don't think I would have had the same experience that happened in Good Girl. Like, I don't, like, my life would be so different. Mm-hmm. So I do look back at like the struggle and the grind and the hustle and life. And like, yeah, if it weren't for all those things, I wouldn't have what I joke about in stand-up comedy. I wouldn't have my book and what I write about, and I wouldn't have grown in that way. So like for that, I am grateful, but I just want someone to buy my TV pilot. Like I just want someone to produce my screenplay. Like I just want a seat at the table, you know, like
and it will
that's
happen.
what I want.
I promise it will happen.
Yeah. Because like
it's impossible that it won't.
Yeah. I want to be a part of the zeitgeist, like a part of the conversation, because I do feel like I have interesting things to say. And like that is why I'm an artist, because I see things and I see it a certain way, and I see that I want to be someone talking about these issues. And I think that there are people who want to listen to that. You know, like when I do stand up, that's a really good measuring stick for what people are interested in. And I realize like, oh, I talk about things that people find interesting, or with the book or the podcast or whatnot. So yeah, just keep chipping away to get a seat at the table. But that's the thing, is like, you can't, and this is, I said this at the book launch, is like, if someone tells me no, instead of getting down, it's more fuel to the fire. It's like, I still want that seat at the table. Like, if you tell me no, I just want that seat at the table even more now. But back like 5, 6, 10 years ago, it would have stopped me a little. Like, I would have needed more time to recover, and I would have kind of gone in on myself and maybe not finished the screenplay, you know? Like, anyway, that's what I'm struggling with. So, okay, I think this is so funny. We've brought up this word multiple times, and every time we brought it up, I was like, oh, that's so funny. So I know you have a tattoo of the word romance on your foot.
Oh yeah, I got it when I was 14 in Thailand.
So why?
I guess it's just, it's something that has been so essential to me throughout my entire life, like finding romance in everything. And yeah, it's so funny. It's so funny because that tattoo is so old. I like don't even think about it. Like I can't really remember where I was mentally when I was like 14 in Thailand. But it is something that's like dear to my heart, and I think it's something that exists everywhere. And it's something that I like to inject in my day-to-day, everyday, way of life.
I think it's so important, first of all.
Okay.
Like when I saw that tattoo, I thought it was so interesting. And the fact that we brought up the word romance at least 8 times in this conversation. So what is that, the importance of romance? Like what in your life? Like I think it's so important, especially as an artist, but I want to hear from you, like, what is that?
Well, I think it's just living truthfully. Like there is romance and spirit in everything. And I really think, for me anyway, it's the only way to move through life. Otherwise, like, what's the point?
If there's no romance.
Yeah, but it can be in everything. Like,
Yeah.
It can be in the way you make coffee in the morning.
And you do this. Everything you do you have a romance with it. It's not just Candy went and took out the trash. It's like even like I've never seen you take out the trash, but like you do things with a certain level of romance.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's the essence of life.
Yeah. Romance, the essence of life. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
You have to. It's all we have.
Yeah. I remember a guy asked me out for a coffee date, and normally I don't do coffee dates. And
why is that?
I just don't do coffee dates. I don't need to have coffee in the middle of the day. I have other things I want to do. If you want to go out, we'll go out at night. And like for a guy, like a romantic situation. Well, okay. So he asked me for coffee. We went. It was fine. And he was in the business. He was a producer. So we talked a lot about work. And it was a coffee date. Daytime, talked about work. It felt like a work meeting. And then he texted me a few days later, hey, I wasn't really feeling the romantic connection with you. And I was like, if you wanted romance, then romance me. Like, don't take me to coffee. I don't know. I just didn't. Maybe you would probably find a coffee date romantic. You would find the romance in the coffee date.
I mean, what I think is really amazing on a daily basis is the fact that we're here together, existing at this very point in time, at the same moment we met. And I think that the chances of that happening is so slim. Like, how is it that anything short of miraculous? Like, that's so romantic to me.
Yeah, but we met, and that was a different story. Like we were at a cool party, dressed well,
it's the same
like having fun.
It's not date guy.
No, it's not the same setup.
I mean, the setup is a little different, but you can still find romance in it.
But I think he also just chose to talk about work, which was something we shared in common. But it wasn't like, what are some of your favorite wines, and like, what do you where do you want to travel to? And like romantic conversation. Like you can have coffee and it can be so romantic. Don't get me wrong. A guy could take me to coffee and it could be so romantic. But that wasn't this. But I felt like, I don't know, maybe he was right. Maybe.
Do you think your expectations set you up for disappointment a little bit though? Like by agreeing to go on a coffee date knowing that you don't like to?
I was trying to get out of my comfort zone. I was trying to see if I could feel something. And I realized
coffee date just isn't for you.
Coffee dates just aren't for me. If you want to ask me out, take me to an Italian restaurant that serves liquor and we can have a cocktail and then we can order food and then we can get a bottle of wine.
I think these are all classic ideas of romance though. Recently I had a cocktail with an acquaintance and like 10 minutes in, he was talking about his like ear ringing diagnosis and all of these things that he was trying to do to like remedy the ear ringing. And I remember thinking to myself, like, wow, this is so romantic because it's vulnerable. You know, like the vulnerability really struck me. And the way he was like so openly talking about it and like so like, receptive to my questions about it. I just thought it was, I don't know, it was really cool. Like,
this is what I love about Candy, is that you will find the romance in a man talking about his ear ringing syndrome. Like, you will find the romance.
well, vulnerability is sexy, I think.
It is. Or he just was venting about his like diagnosis, which I feel like, who knows. Okay, so there were a couple questions from Instagram, so I wanted to take a second and ask you those. So someone asked, how do you stay creative?
Well, I think it's like an everyday pursuit. I'm constantly meeting other creative people, working in all different kinds of mediums. That's always fascinating to me. I love meeting people who do things, and it's not even creative people necessarily. I just love meeting people who do things that is like so far from what I have any comprehension of. So even meeting a handyman, for example, I have a great handyman that has come over to my house a couple of times to help me with things. And he knows all about like perfectly installing picture frames without like damaging the walls. I put so many holes in my walls from like putting up pictures. He does it so flawlessly. And it ultimately gives you an idea for something moving forward because you've just witnessed a way of doing that, opened your mind a little bit. Of course, going to galleries, watching a lot of movies. I have a pretty gigantic reference library of books, which I love to return to. And these are books about like travel, not just art. So, constantly finding ways to stay creative is just by constantly staying interested.
Yeah, you do have that about you. You're like a person, like you're just like an active liver, if that makes sense. Like you are living. You are living,
I'm just trying to live.
You're just trying to live, but you're not asleep. You're active. You're active in your own life. Mm-hmm. And that is something that I really admire about you. You are not just going through the motions. You are participating strongly in your life. So who or what are some of your biggest influences for your ceramic style, and who or what got you into it?
Well, okay, firstly, I think I'm more influenced by architecture than I am by artists. There are some ceramists like Hans Koper who are just like untouchable gods to me. But I love a lot of modernist and brutalist architecture, and I think in my ceramics you can really see that influence come through. And when I was really young, my parents put me in like an after-school ceramics program, and I connected with it so instantaneously. And back then I was so small, I was just making little animals and things like that. And I had no idea that this could ever be a job or a lifestyle. I just had a blast like making little ceramic things. And that probably lasted a couple of years. And then fast forward to 2018, I was an interior designer in New York, and it was an extremely stressful job. All of my clients were like very quite demanding. And I started doing pottery just as like, a way to relax my mind. I'd kind of gone back to childhood a little bit and thought about the things that I enjoyed that were playful, and ceramics immediately came to mind. So I started learning pottery, and I just became completely obsessed with it really fast. And then within 6 months, I had quit my job, and I enrolled in a master's program in London.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I actually did industrial design, but I majored in ceramics. And, I've just been doing it constantly since then.
Did you ever study in Japan or no?
No, I just lived there forever.
Okay, because I mean that is an influence, right?
Oh,
like,
for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. Japanese architecture, Japanese minimalism. It's a major influence.
Would you ever like? Are you like thinking about ever doing something like outside of what you know what I'm saying? Like do something different, like a different.
Oh, different. If I couldn't make ceramics.
No, like in ceramics. Like, have you thought about just totally switching up your style and doing something else, like a different style, or like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, as an artist, like I look at it this way, like.
Mm-mm.
You know, maybe like Jackson Pollock was, you know, of course, like doing splattered type stuff, and then like, you know, and then you get into a different phase of your life, like where you switch into something else. Like, do you feel like is there something else, like a different style that's pulling you?
Well, I mean, I think I'm always trying, and more now than ever, I'm always trying to find ways to inject a little more chaos into my work, because I think what I do is quite controlled. And so, you know, I'm experimenting a little bit more now. But as far as like a radical shift, I'm not really. I think I would like to start doing more radical things. There's a drummer who I really love, Valentina Magaletti. She has a porcelain drum kit that was made by a French ceramic artist. And, you know, that it sounds amazing. And she just looks so fucking cool playing it. And I guess like making something like that would be really exciting to me.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So different form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one's particularly interesting to me because I'm a drummer. I've been playing the drums since I was like 6 or so. And I just, you know, the idea of being able to combine those two passions is so cool to me.
Yeah, I love that for you. I could totally see you making drum sets for like badass like drummers.
That would be
I could see
the
that.
ultimate.
So a question that you had told me that someone had asked you, I don't know if you want to answer it, but how do you get out of a situationship?
Oh, a situationship. I think this is so seems like rampant these days. I think it's like a product of this like non-committal kind of like self-serving society that we live in now. No judgment too, because I do think situationships can serve a purpose, and like, you know, can be appropriate in certain contexts in life. I think what's most important though about you know, when you're in a situationship is that you both have a shared understanding of what this is giving to both of you, just so you're on the same page. Because I think there's a lot of potential for one person to be more hurt than the other in a situationship.
Yeah.
I think you also have to be very honest with yourself about how this is serving you and whether it's doing good or whether it's damaging, and what kind of compromises you're making in order to stay in the situationship, and whether or not you're choosing to stay in a situationship because of comfort or fear or low self-worth, and whether it is preventing you from potentially having an earth-shattering connection that can't exist with another person. Because I guarantee if you're in a situationship and you feel like you're kind of wasting your time in it, you know, you just have to be comfortable with a period of potentially being alone for a while, which is honestly fantastic, and will come with so many great rewards once you can be comfortable with that. And then just get the fuck out. Really.
Like a horror movie, get the fuck out.
I mean, yeah, totally.
I'm just gonna see the chat really quick. If anyone has any questions,
we had Instagram questions.
Oh yeah, and if also Candy, you tell me what you have on Instagram as well. Someone said the blonde is very cute. Tanner, thank you.
Yes,
someone said lesbians, sweet. Thank you, Matt. Is this real? Yes, it is. I bet the invite you said don't bring pants. Okay, very interesting things.
Wow.
Unless the Brits.
Who are these people?
Okay, I have no idea who these people are, but I'm so glad you're here because this is YouTube and this is what we're doing. Okay, there were a lot of, you sound like real ladies. Thank you. What do they do? Okay, these are just like a lot of different.
Wow, this is so fascinating. This is my first podcast, and it's very exciting to be here and witness this. This is really haywire, actually. There's like literally thousands of
there's like
text bubbles,
like a bunch of comments
we're scrolling through. Wow, this is crazy. I also think it's so fascinating to be doing this live.
Yeah,
because like 60 years ago when podcasts started, like this is how they would do it. They couldn't edit.
60 years ago.
I mean, I don't know, 30. When did podcasts
like
start?
when they were. This is how the radio started.
Oh yeah, they were doing like radio plays. Wow,
this is just like an old time radio show.
Wow, this is so crazy. It's so nice to be part of a lineage of podcasters and radio people and just people who talk generally.
So what were the questions from Instagram?
Okay, so one of them.
Take my heels off. I don't know why I'm wearing heels. Like you can't even see my feet.
Someone who I know asked me, when am I next coming to Mexico City?
Oh,
very excited to receive that question because my friend who wrote it is like the epicenter of all the cool cultural things that are happening in Mexico City. So I can't wait to come back and hang out with you. I did have another question.
I can go as well.
You're definitely coming.
Yeah, I've never been to Mexico City.
We should be promoting your book out.
What are you channeling more of? Trips. That's what I'm travel. I want to go to Mexico City. I want to go back to Italy. Greece. I want
all these things are coming.
I want to go to Japan. I want to go everywhere. I just want to be a traveling vagabond writer. What did this person say? Eat an onion at 20 likes. That's so funny.
Mean?
I don't know. It's YouTube. That's what it means.
Wow, this is so fascinating. Oh my god. It reminds me a little of like chat roulette. Like I feel like these people randomly ended up here.
Yeah, they did, but it's cool because obviously we have people that we told about the show, but also all these other people are just like tuning in, which is awesome.
So cool. Someone asked what my favorite albums were, and I think that is a really hard question to answer. I think we would have to make a category just because there's so many albums out there that I love. And I do have a favorite ritual, taking a bath, and I love to listen to records in the bath. It's one of my favorite ways to relax. And, over the years, I guess there are some albums that I consistently listen to in the bath. So we're just going to go with that. I would say probably the one album I've been listening to the most for 35 years of bath taking is Talk Spirit of Eden. Also, the first Ulva album, they kind of transformed into a completely different band over the years following, but the first album is just incredible. If it's a quick bath, I'll listen to, the first few tracks on Cathedral's Forest of Equilibrium. And I also really love Kate Bush, Hounds of Love, for like a more upbeat bath.
Can you make us a playlist of your favorite bath rituals?
Bath
tracks, and send it to me?
I would love to. I'll put that in the show notes.
Yeah, I need to call in more baths. Like, I just want to be a bath person. I want to be a traveling bath person.
Oh, you could definitely do that.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than a hotel bath.
Oh, guys. Okay. Another thing I want to call in is just fancy ass hotels. I love hotels. I'm like a bougie ass bitch. Like I don't like to go camping. And I just want like a nice marble in my hotel room and I'm a happy girl. Like that's all it takes. Yeah.
Okay. Another question for Instagram. What is your greatest fear and how do you manage it?
Why are you looking at me?
Because I'm asking you.
What is my greatest fear. What's up from Brooklyn? Okay,
Oh.
guys. What's my greatest fear? I guess my greatest fear is that, I mean, I am a little afraid that I won't ever have children. Yeah.
Okay.
That's one. But I'm not like too scared about it. Like I want to have my own kids, but I also like if I can, I would be open to adopting a child. I would totally be so happy and excited about that. Or if someone else had kids and I was a part of that. But I really want to have that experience. Like I feel like I would be a good mother. I would like to have a child, and I am 39. So that's like a little bit of a fear, you know, but I feel like it'll be fine in the end. Whatever's supposed to happen will happen. Um, and yeah, that I'll never, I know this is so stupid, but I'm going to go ahead and be vulnerable. I'll never be monetarily successful. Like, I'll never like make it in that way that like I've always aspired to make it, where I am thriving off being an artist, not just like surviving, but thriving off being an artist. Like that's a fear. So not having kids and not thriving off my art monetarily. Yeah.
Wow.
What about you?
Well, I'm doing it. I feel like this is terrifying to me.
Really?
Well, yeah, I think it's so incredible that you do stand up and you just like so like willing to be in front of an audience and just, you know, you make them laugh, which is even scarier. Like that's another layer of vulnerability and just like sheer terror to me.
Yeah.
Crack jokes in front of strangers.
But what's funny is I'm not even cracking jokes. I'm just telling people about my life, and my life is just.
But you're doing it in such a funny way,
Yeah.
and you know you write the structure of the jokes. Yeah. It's yeah. So yeah, I mean, just talking in front of like hundreds of like I don't even know what I'm looking at here.
Yeah, there's been at least like 200 comments. You do not look 39. Thank you, Brooklyn, New York.
So funny.
We could have a few drinks and make it happen. Dana, look, I told my mom the other day, would you be mad at me? Or I asked her, would you be mad at me if I just had a random child with someone? Because at this point, like, you're like, I don't know. What does life have in store for me? Like a random child with someone? Like maybe.
Well, I think it's the way that you phrase it. I'm like trying to understand. Like, why does it have to be a random someone?
Well,
or like you could adopt it.
No, that's true. Or I could just have like sex with someone and get pregnant.
Okay, but there's no implication that you're raising the child with a stranger.
No, I think like, yeah, Dana, who propositioned me on here. I feel like if I got pregnant with like a random man's baby, I would just be like, hey, like if you don't really want to be a dad, like that's totally fine. I'll just go raise the child on my own. Like it's cool. Like don't worry, bro. Like we're good. You know? Like I would be fine with that.
Yeah, I mean that happens all the time. I mean,
yeah.
you want the kid and the you know, more than you want the relationship, I guess, in that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's unusual. I think that a lot of people do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would just require me to start sleeping with people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? I feel like there's a different avenue for you. Like you can be I think you'll figure out a way to like have that kid without having to with,
you know what would be great? You know what else I'm calling in right now? To figure out a way to meet a man, like a decent man that I really like and that really likes me. And then that man is like, let's have a family together. And I'm like, oh my God, I would love to do that. And then we just go do that, you know, and we're both in like good enough places, like mentally, that we can raise this child to be an amazing human. Like, I'm going to call that in. I'm going to call that in right now. Because that would be what I really want. Like, I don't want to just have a random child with someone. I want to have a child with someone who really wants to be a father. Like, that would be nice.
Well, I think your dreams are within reach. It happens every day to people.
Does it?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
Hasn't happened to me. Not yet. Where are you from? No, don't have a random child with someone. Thank you, Brooklyn, New York. I'm from Texas. We are in Los Angeles. Dana said, that's me. Okay, Dana, send me a message. We'll figure it out. But what other questions did we have? Oh, this is your fear, doing this podcast.
I mean, yeah, but the thing with fear is sometimes you just have to do it and you survive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to start doing stand-up, but like doing this is kind of maybe not as terrifying as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like you're very outgoing. You're very outspoken. You're very charismatic. But
you think so? I feel like I'm reformed introvert.
I could see a little bit of introvert in your profile. Yeah. But for the most part, you're very outgoing.
I just love to like smash into the wall of life, just do it.
Yeah.
Over and over again.
Just do it. I mean, that's an artist smashing into the wall in life of what? Right. Life. Let's take it back so we can get a good sound bite. That's an artist smashing into the wall of life over and over again. Actually, that was in a movie. That was in the movie, the Italian movie, The Great Beauty. There was a scene where I'm pretty sure they're making fun of, what is her name? Maria Abramovich, the one artist. I probably just butchered her name. But there was a scene where there was a performance artist in the movie The Great Beauty where the artist is like running up against a wall and just like collapsing, and she just like keeps doing it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's art. That's life.
Yeah, that's a great movie. That's so beautiful.
That's one of my favorite movies, by the way.
He has a new movie. It's about to come out.
I was going to text you.
And you know what? I saw the trailer and I thought of you. I was like, she is, I can't remember her name. It's like, it's Pinocchio. And I was like, that's Bianca.
Oh, and I thought Candy would like to go see this movie.
I'll see that movie with you.
Because it takes place in Amalfi, which we all know that I love. And yeah, it's about a young woman
who like sets hearts ablaze over the course of her life.
It's like some siren in Amalfi.
That's you.
I just want to go be some siren in Amalfi. Actually, no, I've done that in other places. I'm done.
You're a siren in Los Feliz.
I'm done being a siren. I'm just going to be Aphrodite. It's fine. So I'm going to LA. I'll find you. Yay.
Is that Dana? I can't wait for this.
No, that was from Brooklyn. That was Blood Sports 166.
Cool.
This is a podcast. Yes, it is. I wish that I could go to sleep and never wake up. Oh, well, Tim, you know what? Just listen to the podcast. You'll be fine. Okay.
I love that we have that effect on Tim, though.
I know, right?
Take a nap, Tim. Take a beat.
Take a beat. Look, I'm like contemplating sleeping with a random man, Tim. You can take a beat. If I'm not going to go have random sex to have a child with someone, Tim, you can take a beat. Okay. So, Candy, what else? What else do we need to know? Anything you want to ask me? Anything you feel like getting off your chest?
Well, I feel like we didn't discuss the book at all. We need to we can't wrap this up without
this is the book.
Talking about your book.
Okay, I wrote a book. It's called Good Girl. It's available on Amazon. And yeah, what else do they need to know?
Well, I guess I think after that trip or during that trip that we took to Sardinia, I became obsessed with you, and I have hung out with you a lot since then. And with every hangout, you're like, I've become a little bit more gaga for you, and you reveal more of yourself as we get to know each other. But it was really in this book I felt so like deeply connected to you and your journey, and I was so just amazed by the amount of vulnerability in your writing, and I think there's so many important messages in this book, and you kind of had to walk through fire a little bit for your audience, I think. Mm-hmm. Like now with hindsight, you can tell this story, which is really about, your deep struggles reconciling with your Puerto Rican heritage, your relationship with your mom, all of like this silent pain that you really experienced with your mom and through her. And I just think it's incredible that you put this out in the world.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you, Candy. Here, let's hug
Oh,
on
yeah.
that note. Yeah, I wanted to do something because I think, like, you know, we talked about your art and being an artist, and I feel like my art is my journey, my story, what I've lived through, what I've survived. Um, if anything, I'm a motivational speaker, not a stand-up comic. You know, like, I feel like I want people to feel so seen in the darkest moments of their life that I can represent, like, hey, girl, guy, I went through that too, and I came out on somewhat of the other side of it. I'm still figuring it out though. Like, that's the thing with the book, is that at the end, I want people to know I don't have it all figured out. Like, I'm still living life. And I like, obviously, yes, I've learned a lot and I've made a great progression in how my relationships and how I deal with people. I'm way more outspoken. I speak up for myself. I call things out. If something doesn't feel right, I say it. I say no. Like, you know, I'm not afraid of getting fired, getting broken up with. Like, I'm not afraid of being vulnerable. Like, yeah, I have all these amazing qualities that I've learned through my struggle. But now I want to come back and I want to tell people, you are not alone. Keep going, work through it. Don't give up on yourself. If you want something, fight for it. If something doesn't feel right, say it. Like, you know, this is like a battle. Like, we are in a battle with ourselves. And I want people to be the greatest champion for themselves and to never give up and to keep going and to fight for that dream, especially women. You know, I think that there are so many circumstances for women that make it so hard for us to live the life we've imagined for ourselves. And I just want women to know that there is a way. There is a way for you to live that life. Just believe in yourself and don't give up on yourself and don't settle for anything less, and fight for your safety, fight for your respect. And you know, those are all really hard things when they really come into play, like in everyday life for women. And I just wanted to be encouraging. I wanted to give women hope and strength and an option for themselves. Like, that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. And, you know, you tell me that I'm an optimistic person, but I mean, you have really like crawled on your hands and knees, like through some pretty fucking bananas situations. And you're always picking yourself up and continuing.
Yeah.
And that's very rare and just very awe-inspiring.
Yeah. I feel like because I'm able to, like, maybe put things into words, like, maybe that is my gift, is like living through these things and then being vulnerable to put them down in a way that people can read it. Then if that's my gift, like, that's what I want to do. Like, and that's what I want to share with people. Yeah, and that's why I wrote the book, and hopefully it'll get a larger audience. So if you guys have a second, order it on Amazon, buy it for a friend. Like, yeah, because at this point, it's really just about getting the word out there. And, you know, it's just me doing this book. So this is all grassroots efforts. It's my friends helping me. It's my community, like, trying to help me with this pursuit. So really thank all of you for joining and for tuning in, and for Candy.
Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, I feel like
I wish we could like ADR or like reply just in a little bit, because I was, you know, I don't think I'm always like the most articulate person, but this has been such a joy.
Yeah. Anything else? Any last minute accoutrements that you can think of?
I think this has been so wonderful. Yeah. I love you. I'm so proud of everything that you're doing and that you have done. And I can't wait for all of the incredible things that are yet to reveal themselves on your horizon.
Thank you. And really, thank you for being truly optimistic and such a good friend and such a kind person
Aw.
and such a supporter. Because, you know, in life, it's like you can't do it without people like you. So yeah, thank you. And artists like you too.
Oh,
you know,
thanks.
we need that inspiration. We need art. So thank you. Yeah.
We love you.
We love you guys so much. Thank you. Thank you guys. All right, signing off in 1 second.